Blood at the Root is inspired by events that happened in 2006, 2007 in Gina, surrounding the Gina Six. And the Gina Six were 6 black teenagers who were tried as adults and convicted of aggravated battery and conspiracy to attempt murder for a schoolyard fight against a white student. So, and we watched these kids not only navigate their way through adolescence and the gauntlet of high school, but also being faced with the fact that they're a part of a dynamic, they're a part of a culture and a community that has its own codes and rules and politics. And so they not only discover where they fall in that dynamic and how they participate in it, even if they don't participate, they're still participating. But then what we watch them do is choose how they're going to continue on in this dynamic. Are they going to retaliate? Are they going to abstain from action? Are they going to challenge the status quo and move forward? So it's inspired by true events, but it certainly tackles a more universal, not message, but themes, I suppose. Mm-hmm.
And getting to work with someone who's really caught fire recently is a really remarkable gift that the School of Theater has given us. We've said in the past that if we tried to get Dominique now, I think we'd have a hard time.
Yeah.
Yes. Her calendar is just full.
And we couldn't afford her.
Her star is really on the rise, and we got her. We were really, really fortunate to get her when we did, and it's been a real thrill to watch her career take off.
When she was brought on, we didn't know how the process was going to go or what the experience was going to be like working with this playwright. And so things started off as just a series of games and activities, and she would come in and do a lot of different workshops with us. And after a couple of weeks of this, we got a script from Dominique, and this was our first time seeing the script and then connecting it with the events in Gina Six, and then we were able to see how she worked. And so what she did was she took a lot of the things that we said and did in the workshops and coupled it with the events from Gina Six to create the story. So working with a professional playwright in this way was new for all of us, but it was very enlightening to see ourselves in these characters, things that we like about ourselves, things that we don't like about ourselves. We were able to work with someone who was really skilled and to pull the best out of us in that way in creating those characters. So it was great working with someone on the professional level. So when we first went to Africa, we were going with a story that we felt was we were going with a story that we felt was an American story with Southern dialects, and we weren't sure how it was going to be received. So we started having talkbacks after the show to kind of gauge the audience and see what it's resonating with them and what's landing and what they catch and what they don't catch. And when we came back to the States, we continued the talkbacks as a way to engage the audiences here in America who we assume would understand the Southern dialects a lot easier and probably are familiar with the story of the Gina Six, but to engage the audiences and really work to try to affect change within our community, to challenge them to think about the things that they've seen in the play, to get the group or whoever's there in the audience tonight to talk amongst each other, to share ideas, and hopefully empower people to go out past the show and want to make a difference.
The talkbacks are very brilliant and varied experience. I think every time we go out, like you had mentioned, sometimes it's just what they saw. The play has a lot of movement-based storytelling, which isn't usual necessarily for some of the plays that we see nowadays. And a lot of times you'll get responses that have to do with trying to find out where the start of that movement is based in, and talking about how they found the story, especially through my character, DeAndre, how you find his story through a lot of movement instead of actual dialogue, and that's something that's new to them and something that they a lot of times note and are interested in. But then you have other times where you'll have someone who's just so deeply touched by one of the characters because they feel like they've seen their life story finally portrayed.
Yeah, another thing that comes up pretty consistently in our conversations after the show is about how recently the events that inspired the play happen. We get some people in our audience who do have a recollection or know the ins and outs of what happened in Louisiana in 06, 07. But a lot of people don't. And when they learn that, A, this is based on something that did really happen, and B, that it happened 7 years ago,
It's still happening.
and
And it's still
that's the
happening.
other part of it. So you go, I can't believe that this happened this recently, and then you keep talking to them and help them see that we're not even talking about stuff that just happened 7 years ago. We're talking about stuff that happened a week ago,
Right.
a month ago, a year ago,
Literally.
and
Yeah.
you start to people start to see just how deep
Yeah.
an issue is, like the ones that we bring up in the play. We talk about race and sexuality in particular, and how people self-identify, and those things that when you through conversation people start to recognize, oh my gosh, this is happening more often than I'm realizing, or I'm not recognizing the pattern. These things that you mention these things, and I do recognize them, but I hadn't linked them in that way, and that's something that I think keeps coming up over and over again.